Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Movie Crusaders. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're going to be reviewing one of my most anticipated films of 2020 and also 2021, A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, for anyone who has been following my channel, all of you know that I was a huge fan of A Quiet Place when it came out in 2018. I thought John Krasinski, in his directorial debut, for the most part, his directorial debut, did a phenomenal job with him and Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe. That foursome of a cast put on a stellar performance in that first film. Edge of the seat, tense, great scares, great story overall for the world building that they had in that first film. It was one of my favorite films of 2018, and I could not wait for the sequel when it was supposed to come out last year in 2020. But COVID happened, and this was literally the first film to basically be affected by COVID, as this was supposed to come out the week the theaters shut down. And now today it is finally released in movie theaters. Also, my first time in a movie theater in over a year. It was fun being in a movie theater again till I sat down in a movie theater. Not to go off a little side rant, but I forgot how much I love the movie theater, but then I also forgot how many D-bags go to a movie theater just to ruin everyone's fun. The movie theater experience was definitely sour. I tried my best not to let it affect me while watching the film, but it was very hard not to, as I consistently had people in the film or in the theater trying their best to ruin the movie theater experience for everyone there at home, to the point where it made me go, man, I wish this was on HBO Max or Amazon Prime, where I could watch this at home and not have to deal with these people who are literally going out of their way to ruin everyone's good time. Nonetheless, we're here to talk about A Quiet Place Part 2. Like I said, one of my most anticipated films of last year and this year. I've been basically counting down the days to make it back into a movie theater so I could watch this film, because I could not wait to see where the next chapter goes. Literally, this movie starts on day one of the invasion. We get to see John Krasinski back as Lee Abbott, basically playing everything like normal life. We get to see how this family is before everything happened, and then we get to see the initial invasion of the creatures. I think they're called something angels. I'm blanking on the name of the creatures in The Quiet Place, and I apologize for that. But that opening scene of the day one invasion is awesome. It is shot incredibly well. John Krasinski has proven already with these two films that Krasinski is a fantastic director, and I cannot wait to see what more he's going to bring to us. Clearly, this is going to open up to a third film. We know we're going to get A Quiet Place Part 3 because Krasinski has come out of his way to say that this is a trilogy. So we know we're going to get a third one. I cannot wait to see how he ends this series, but I also can't wait to see what else he has coming down the road. It was very nice seeing Krasinski back on screen, even if it was for the first 15 minutes of the film. It was definitely nice to see his character back. And Emily Blunt still putting on a great performance in this. Not up to the caliber of the first film, but she's still putting on a great performance nonetheless. This movie is 100% Millicent Simmons' movie. She is the character that we are following through this journey of the second film. She is the one that her character was so strong in the first film, but obviously it was an Emily Blunt and John Krasinski story, with her being kind of the third character. In this movie, she is 100% the lead in this film. This time around, we have added Cillian Murphy to the cast as kind of the adult male character, and we all know Cillian Murphy knows how to deal with apocalyptic films. We've seen him in 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later. So we know Cillian knows how to be in these kind of films, and he does a very solid job playing opposite Millicent in this film. But Millicent Simmons comes out looking amazing in this movie. She's definitely an actress to watch. I can't wait to see what more she has coming down the road. If there was one character in this film that I felt like really probably could have done a better job, or at least he could have wrote this character better. It was Noah Jupe's Marcus character. I get in the first film that his character is supposed to be super scared and worried all the time and stuff like that, but it's up to annoying levels in this film, to the point where the character, this family has been relatively smart for the first 470-ish days. That's, I think, how long went to the first film. That for him to make certain mistakes in this film that are borderline stupid, that he should know better in order for the plot to move forward or to raise the stakes, was really frustrating for me as a viewer. Noah Jupe, I mean, he's doing his best performance, but his character, I'm sorry, I don't want to say this. I honestly was hoping to God his character died. I know it's a horrible thing to say because he's a kid and all that stuff, but his character, I felt like I just wanted him off the board. I felt like the movie could progress better without his character. But like I said, he's doing what he's told to do. It's hard to knock the actor. I'm not knocking the actor. I'm knocking the character of Marcus. I really almost kind of wish he just would have died, at some point in the film, so we can move past his character. Obviously, by the end of the film, we're at where we're at with it. Jamin Hansu, he pops up in the film for a brief moment. He's always very solid in every role that he is in. Scoot McNairy pops up in a small role as well. But basically, the big standouts of this film is Emily Blunt and Milton Simmons. The monsters this time around, a lot more on screen. Obviously, it's a sequel. The stakes are supposed to be raised. The world is expanded past the farmhouse to a more of an open world kind of thing, which is good and bad at the same time. The big story is about what's going to happen with them now that they've got the baby. The baby is not as much of a factor as I think we were expecting it to be in the film. It is a factor, but it isn't up to the levels that I think a lot of people thought it was going to go. The main problem that this film has is that it does what a lot of sequels do. It feels like the stakes need to be raised even bigger, but it also separates the core group. Millicent Simmons is basically on her own journey with Cillian Murphy's character, and Emily Blunt is basically with Noah Jupe and the baby for pretty much most, if not all, the film. And separating that family really kind of takes a lot of the emotional weight that we have developed with this family through the first film and kind of takes it away. Like, we care about these characters. We care about their well-being, maybe not so much Marcus. But to take them away from each other and not have them rely on one another, yes, it relies on the Reagan character played by Millicent to grow stronger and more independent and become basically who she is by the end of the film. But it not having her and Emily Blunt working side by side on screen together definitely did not do the film any favors. But Cillian Murphy does a great job kind of being Millicent's partner throughout the film. The stakes are raised. We're seeing kind of how the rest of the world is through this invasion. It also kind of makes you wonder exactly how many of these creatures there are, because they're able to walk around for the most part relatively free without making noise. And as soon as they make a noise, they all come out of the woodwork. So it makes you wonder where these creatures are when they're walking around, because they don't show up, or they're not spotted in the distance or anything like that. Like I said, little nitpicks here and there. Regardless, A Quiet Place Part 2 is a very, very solid sequel to the first film. Is it as good as the first one? Absolutely not. The first one was a gem. It was something unique. It was different. Krasinski's eye to his first directorial debut was something that was aspiring and very, very overwhelming that we got in that first film. So seeing it the second time, I was excited to see the characters back and being back in that world, it didn't have the same special oomph that the first film had. That's nothing against that. That happens with all sequels for the most part. This movie still is a very, very solid counterpart to the first film. It's still one of the better films of the year that's come out. It's just not quite up to par with the first film overall. Like I said, going to overall thoughts, if you're a fan of A Quiet Place Part 1, you're obviously going to see A Quiet Place Part 2. If you're a fan of any of these actors, Obviously, you're going to come see this film. If you guys have never really seen Millicent Simmons outside of the first film, definitely go out of your way to see her in this one. She is definitely the focal point of this second film, and she knocks it out of the park. High recommendations. Check this film out. Just kind of, seed your expectations of it to being matching of the first film. It is still a very, very good film. It's just not quite up to the caliber of the first one. Going to my overall score, I'm still going to give it an 85%, which is an A grade, because even as it is not as good as the first film, it is still better than a lot of horror films out there with a solid, solid cast, great direction, great story, great world building. Just wanted a little bit more of the family being together and less stupidity from a certain character in the film. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, Cruella comes out tomorrow on Disney+, so I'll be on the lookout for that review. The Weekend Crusaders should be out right now, but there were some scheduling conflicts happening throughout the week. The episode will be out at some point this weekend, just not out at the normal Friday time, as it should have been released right now, but it will be released this weekend, I promise. But until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.